Hello, welcome to today's session. Right, thank you for watching my last video. Right, which we discussed about the getting started with the Microsoft Purview. Right, under the Microsoft getting started with Microsoft Purview, we look into the data security. We also look into the risks and compliance. We also look into the data governance. So we'll pick on one of them, which is the data security. So under data security, we discussed about data loss prevention. We discussed about information barrier. We discussed about information protection. We discussed about management risk, insider risk management, and we also discussed about privileged asset management. Right. So, but we picked up. We also picked one of them also, which I said we'll be picking up bit by bit. So the one which you have picked is the information protection. So under the information protection, also we have the know your data, protect your data, prevent your data, and govern your data. Right. So basically, for first one, the first rule says know your data because you cannot prevent, protect, or governing what data you don't know. So once you can know your data, then during that we discussed about knowing your data. So for know your data, if you remember, we discussed about the data classification where we're able to look into the trainable classifier. We also look into the content explorer, which gives insight about the overview of both sensitive information reports. Also, we also look at the activity explorer. We look at the activity explorer. We look at the license requirement. We look at what it does and how it can help for in data classification, right? So you can it helps in revealing activity which are related to data that contains sensitive information. So with this, you'll be able to know your data and be able to classify your data. So the trainable classifier works in a way where you'll be able to build a kind of custom, trying to like a trainer. So you're going to there are like default ones already, as you can see, there are default ones already. And if there's any specific one customized within the environment which you want it to learn, so it's going to learn that stuff, right? It's going to learn it. So once you learn those sensitive information within the environment, then anything that falls under that category is going to be flagged by the trainable classifier. As you can see here, use the built-in in the custom classifier to identify specific categories of content, right, on existing items in your organization. That means items that are already existing within your organization. You'll be able to detect certain information. You'll be able to create policies together. But this is going to help to know your data. Probably you want to know some specific data, right? You want to know how it's been, how is it living in your organization. So you want to be able to put a categorization to your data. You want to know which one is of high priority. We want to know which one is low priority. We want to know which one is of medium priority, right? Which we look into like highly confidential, secret, or the one that is for public. So it's going to help in this aspect also. We also talked about the sensitive info types, right? Where we looked at sensitive information type. We have over 300 sensitive info types. We have some different countries, Argentina, we have for US, where we talked about SSN number, credit card number, and we also did a test about when we also did a test about this credit card number, where we have sensitive information about your credit card details on the notepad. I'm able to do it, and it was able to detect it. Right. So that was just a quick summary of what we discussed in our last session, right? So today we'll be looking at the protecting data, right? So out of the first one, which we discussed about how to know your data, which we mentioned about the trainable classifier, doing a data quantification with trainable classifier, using content explorer and activity explorer. So today we'll be looking at the aspect of to protect your data. Afterwards, we looked into the preventing of your data, and afterwards we look into the governing your data. So today we'll be going to protecting of your data, right? So what does it mean to protect your data? So let me give a quick example, right? Now you can protect your data, right? One of the examples in trying to protect your data, imagine, let's say for instance, right, user one sends an email to internal users and external users, right? Let's say there's an attachment in that email. Now you want you may probably, let's say you mistakenly copy, or probably you added somebody within the team, or probably you imagine sending an email to, okay, let me use a distribution list. So imagine you sending an email, right? An email that contains an attachment, and the attachment is a kind of highly confidential. So imagine you not encrypting that particular document. So imagine you just send it to the wrong distribution list. So immediately it gets to those users, they have access to it, right? So now the deed has been done, right? Now, for you to be able to control that in future, right, what do you need to do? So there are different categories of encryption, right? Imagine you are applying an encryption, which let's say label. We're going to discuss about it. So you apply a label on that particular document. So you might, when you mistakenly send it to those recipients, that means you would have defined which recipient you want to them to have access to that particular attachment. So it's only that those particular recipients which you've allowed for them to have access to that, for them to have access to that particular document you have access to it. So I mean, every other users within the distribution list would not be able to view that attachment. You might be able to view the email, but you already put protection on that document that says that only this specific recipient can have access to this particular document, right? So let's proceed, right? So the first thing we should be looking at is there are different solutions within Office 5 that is used to protect your data, right? The ones which we'll be looking at is the Microsoft Purview method encryption. Then we'll be looking at the sensitivity level, and we're looking at the Azure Information Protection Unified Development. But we have other ones also, like double key encryption, service encryption with customer key, SharePoint information rights management, Azure Information Protection for the embedded scanner. We have the Microsoft Defender for apps. Then we have rights management connector. We have the Microsoft Purview data app. We have the Microsoft Information Protection SDK. You can see that we have loads of solutions which are using different parameters for protecting data, right? So, but the ones which you look at will be the first area, right? So, first of all, we're going to look at the license requirements, right? What are the license requirements? So, the first one, right? But there's a challenge, right, which customers do face, which is what I've noticed. So, customers will say, "Oh, I want to encrypt my email, right? I want to be able to encrypt my emails, or I want to be able to encrypt my documents." Now, the first is, I think there's one encryption method they mentioned, which is I'm trying to remember this encryption. That is it involves you must have a certificate. Let me try and remember. Yeah, okay. Well, before the end of that, which definitely is going to remember, right? So, but let's focus on what we're talking about. So we have the Microsoft Purview method encryption, right? And we have sensitivity level, which is also used for encrypting documents and emails, right? What are the differences between the Microsoft message encryption and sensitive message encryption? The basic difference between the two is that one is customizable and one is not customizable. So that means the Microsoft Purview method encryption is not customizable, right? While the sensitivity level is customizable, right? So for instance, right, let me go through the licensing first before we move further, right? So now there's a basic requirement for the official message encryption and sensitivity level. So one of the basic requirements is, I'll mention the standalone one first, right? So the standalone one is for you to have the Azure Information Protection Plan 1 or Azure Information Protection Plan 2. Right? So that you have the Azure Information Protection Plan 1 or you have the Azure Information Protection Plan 2. All right. Now, when it comes to having it embedded in a Microsoft subscription bundle, right? The minimum one which you need to have the Microsoft Business Premium. It doesn't come with the Microsoft Business Basic. It doesn't come with the Microsoft Business Standard, but it comes with the Microsoft Business Premium. So with Microsoft Business Premium, you have the ability to use the Microsoft Purview message encryption and the sensitivity level, right? So from the Microsoft Business Premium upwards, right, you will be able to enjoy the Microsoft Purview message encryption feature and the sensitivity level feature. Now, within the Microsoft message encryption, we have what we call an advanced message encryption, right? In the times when you are trying to probably recall an encrypted email, in times when you are trying to probably detect the sensitive information, you want to create a mail flow rule to detect the sensitive information in a particular email and document, and it automatically encrypt the email. So now, for you to achieve that, you need a minimum of the compliance security. That means you need the Microsoft E5 for that minimum for you to be able to enjoy that particular feature, which is the Office 365 Advanced Message Encryption. The minimum one which you need is the E5. right? For with the E5, then you have here, right, to be able to probably, so it works. This particular one is advanced one of the Microsoft Purview method encryption, right? And for it to have benefit, of, we're going to discuss about it during this coming session, right? We're going to discuss about it for that. So let me just keep it brief. So to also view sensitivity level for Power BI, right? The minimum one is the business premium also. Then we'll be looking at automatically applying encrypting documents. That means upon when at the process of you sending an email or saving a document, when it detects a sensitive information, it's going to automatically apply a label, right? Or you're going to get a prompt like a recommendation that, okay, you are recommended to apply a label to this document because it contains sensitive information. There are two different licenses required now. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is this. During the as we move further during the session, I'm going to revert back to this two. You notice that there's manual sensitivity label, right? And we have the for both client and service side automatic sensitivity label, and we have for client side automatic sensitivity label. Now, what is the difference between these two? Let me focus on these two. Now, for this one here, at the point of you creating the label, right? This only applies to the label which you are creating, right? Why this client side automatically applies where you can select that the data location, is it Exchange, is it SharePoint? All of this is going to be shown and in our coming slides, right? So we're going to move forward, right? So as I said, the first thing which we'll be looking at the Microsoft Purview message encryption. Now, for instance, the client has come that, okay, I want to enable the Office 365 message encryption for 17 level. So the first thing which you need to check is the license. Let's say we've confirmed the license that, okay, this customer or this client has the right license to be able to utilize this product or feature, right? The next thing which we'll be looking at is to confirm that the AIP service has been enabled. After the moment which we've confirmed that, the next thing for us is to confirm that information rights management is enabled. That is the next thing which you are going to do. Either for sensitivity level, either for official message encryption, either of the two. You need to make sure that the Azure rights management is active and activated. So we're going to do some quick check now. So I think, so first of all, you need to have this module installed, right? I already have mine installed already. So all I need to just do, right? So let me connect to the AIP service to check if the Azure rights management is activated, right? It's my password. Right. So it's getting connected. So like just so it's trying to connect. So let's just give it to connected. So all I need to do is for me to check before I enable is to come here and run this command, get AIP service. You can see it is enabled, right? So if it's not enabled, all I need to do is to come here and run this command, the enable AIP service, right? With this, you can see it's going to let you know that the Azure Information Protection Service has been successfully enabled, although additional confirmation of this service may be required. So now, after you verify that the Azure Rights Management is active and it has been enabled, right? It has been activated. The next thing which you're going to do is to check your RRM configuration. There's some particular parameters which need to be enabled and which need to be set for the encryption to work properly well within your email services and within your files, right? So we're going to connect to Exchange Online first to actually confirm this. So let's connect to Exchange Online. So you must have installed the Exchange Online module. Don't forget, you install the module, you import the module, then you'll be able to connect to Exchange Online. So I'm connected to Exchange Online. So these are the necessary procedures because we have scenarios where customers might probably deactivate, they can confirm the Azure element activated, they skip this part here, they go straight to configuring and setting up the the label, or enabling the encryption policies, create policies, publish the label, and they come back saying that, oh, when they send an encrypted email, the recipient is unable to open it, unable to have access to that email, is unable to decrypt it, right? So for us to be able to make sure we don't have those kind of scenarios, right? That's where we're following this right procedure, right? After you verify the license, you confirm that the Azure Rights Management is activated. Once you confirm that it's activated, then you proceed first of all to check your IRM configuration. So why? Let me do that. So I run this command, get IRM configuration. So now there's some parameters which you need to make sure they are actually set to true. One of them is the internal licensing enabled. One of them is the Azure RMS license enabled. Now, and another one is the simplified client access enabled. Now, for the Microsoft Office 365 message encryption, for you to be able to use the Office 365 message encryption to encrypt emails or documents, you need to have this simplified client access enabled. If it's set true, you won't be able to see the add-in which you are going to use to encrypt a particular email and encrypt a document, right? And for the encryption to work properly well, right, we need to make sure that the Azure RMS, both for sensitivity level and the Office message encryption, we need to make sure that the internal licensing license is enabled, the external licensing is enabled, the Azure RMS licensing is enabled, and which one again? This client access is enabled also. Which one again? I think that, and it must also set the licensing location. Licensing location must be set. So once these particular parameters are enabled, then you're good to go. As you can see here, so these are the basic ones here, right? For both for the one that applies to official message encryption and sensitivity level is this two here, this three here applies for it, right? The one that allows you to be able to use it applies only to the official message encryption that allows you to be able to have the admin pop-up to encrypt a particular email is this simplified client enabled, right? If you don't enable this simplified access enabled, you won't be able to see the icon or able to see the add-in to be able to encrypt an email or encrypt a document, right? So once you check this, right? Once you check this, right, and everything looks fine, right? You don't need to run this again. But let me run this just for our sake, right? So I think I'm connected to AIP service already. So let me just proceed to run this one here, right? I'll just run it at once. Okay, so I think let me just run it one by one. Let me see where the issues. So I run this first. Right, so I run this, then I run this, right? Then I run this. Yeah, then I run this. Then I run this also. I think let me see. Let me see if something is missing there. So let me just check it out. Right, so let me just come there. And just okay, so let me. I think I will just get back to this later, so that we don't waste time. As this, let me use this one. Do not forward. Disable. Don't do this for disabled. Enabled encryption. Disabled. Let me see. Yeah, I think I will just check on this later and provide us an update in our next session, right? But this is what you need to run. So once you've run this, once you run this and it's successful, right? The next thing which you're going to now do is to test the RM configuration. Test that okay. Once you run the test, it should be successful, right? You can see this. It should be so. You can see a pass. So it validates that this is available template. So this is validating that this available templates confidential, encrypt, do not forward, right? So encryption verified successfully, decryption, encrypt. So these like testing that okay, yeah, it is a sender is able to send an encrypted email to a recipient. So if you're testing, please make sure you can use the same email address and the same recipient, it's the same email address for the recipient also for your testing. So once that is confirmed, then you're good to go and you can proceed to set up and encrypt. So let's do a quick check about of how we'll do a check from Aqua Flight and we'll do a check from OWA, right? But let's start with OWA first, right? So we just come here, come to OWA here. So if I come to new email, So just for you to know, when you enable the simplified message client encryption, right, it takes 24 hours. It takes 24 hours. You need to take note. It takes at least, you can give it, if it did not show immediately, it might take 24 hours before it pops up, right? From over and from Apple client. So let me, yeah. So come here. So I did publish before now, so I'm going to definitely going to say it. So all you need to do is to come to options here, right? And you'll be able to see it. You can see the icon here, encrypt and do not forward, right? No permission set, right? We're going to run a quick test, but let me just show us from Outlook client itself. So let me just launch Outlook so that we see it also from Outlook also. So this is the Office 365 message encryption, right? You cannot customize this by default. The template is just there. So you cannot specify which recipient you want to have access to a particular email. So, but let's check for document. So I think for document, you can still set the permission for document. For email, you won't be able to set. So let me just open Word. So I will do a test also. Right. So let me show from Outlook first. I click on new email. Come to new email. Okay, it has opened on my other window, so without that. So if I click on open new email, if you come to options, right, you can see the encrypt button, right? Look at it, encrypt only and do not forward, right? So why this is showing duplicate is that I have other accounts which I've signed into my Office account, right? For this to show on Outlook client, you must make sure that you signed in to your Office account, right? You sign in with the right account that have the right license on your Office account. If not, you won't be able to see this icon pop up. You won't be able to see this icon pop up because you need to make sure you're signed in with the right account. That's why you can see this one here, W@Koji. You can see if I come back to file, Office account, you can see I'm signed in with the account and it has the right license for it to be able to utilize this particular service. If not, you won't be able to see this icon. And for if a quick troubleshooting, if for instance you have the right license on the account and you come your new email and you're unable to see you're unable to see and you're unable to see the encrypt button icon. All you need to do, you can just make sure you're signed in with your Office account. If you're signed in already, you can sign out of the account. You come here, come to file, come to Office account and sign out. Once you sign out of the Office account, sign in again and it's going to show up. At times it's been cached at times, so you might need to sign out and sign in again, right? So that's from here. Then let's check for more document also, right? So I come to a blank document, right? So all I need to do is come to a file here. Yeah, it's come to file and come to info, right? Come to protect document. You can see restrict access. So you can see for Word it's different. Forms are different. So I come here, I restrict access, then I restrict access, and I'll be able to encrypt an email, right? This is from Word document, right? So that's it. That's it about that. So we're going to proceed to sensitivity level, right? So I'm going to proceed to sensitivity level. So, right. So we're going to proceed to sensitivity level. So for sensitivity level, as you all know, you send it to your Office 365 admin center, right? You come to show all, come to your compliance admin center. Don't forget we have a new admin center for information protection Purview, right? The new admin center already. So if you come here, right, which is in Purview, purview.microsoft.com, right? It still is in Purview for now. So it's free, you can have access to it, you can check it out. But if I go through this place, if I still click on if I click on the information protection to create a label, it's still going to return me back to this previous one because it's still in preview, which they're still working on it to have a better way to have a separate console for the Microsoft Purview itself, right? You can see, I come to Microsoft Purview. So if I come to information protection here, right? It's still going to return me back to this place. So I believe they're working on something where if we're going to have a nice interface, the new features, and some other ones, right? So let us proceed to to what we are here for. So I proceed to the information protection, right? So this is the overview. Yeah? This is just an overview of label protect PDF. This is just an overview of how it was, of how a little information of touch sensitivity label, like just an overview of reports of what is happening with the label because I've created something already. Right. So we proceed, right? Now, so we proceed to come to the labels, right? Which we'll be able to create a label and we'll be able to customize it. So let's create a label. Right? So I think I have to create it already, but I'm just create another one for this session. So I create a label. So I come here. So I give it a name. So let's say black. Let's say EXO. Let's do EXO. Display name EXO. Right. I come here description EXO. Right. I set my label color of how it's going to show up on Apple clients. I click on next. Now you can see we have different items of where you want of the scope. Like you want to scope it, you want to scope it for files? Are you scoping it for just emails? Are you scoping it for just meetings? Are you scoping it for SharePoint? Right? We are going to just look into files and emails. This one, it meetings, we look at that later. Or no, okay, let's enable for meetings also. Let's enable for, but SharePoint, we're going to look at this because it has a different approach also in enabling, in activating. Process you activate you activate the Azure Information Protection. After you activate it, there's a way you have to enable MIP, which you'll be able to, because at the first instance, if it's not enabled, this should be grayed out. Right? We're going to, that's another topic for another day, right? So I click on next. Right? So now it's going to give us two options there, right? So we have the apply content and this. So if I'm not applying any content marking, maybe header, footer, or watermarks, I won't check this. If I'm only applying to apply a label, create a label, right? I'm going to check it. But I'm going to check the two, right? So let's click on continue. So what's saying there is that to protect teams and teams, you all must have Teams premium license. So I think that's why this particular sign is going out here. So make sure that you have Teams premium license. Watch, I'm going to check later and we're going to see how that works. So I click on next, right? So when we get it, we have two options. We have the assign permission now, and let's assign permissions when they apply the label. Now, let me select the first one first. Let user apply assign permissions. If I select this, right, this is just a we're going to have almost the same concept of the official message encryption, where you are able to customize. The only difference here is that a user is able to encrypt email using the encrypt only and do not forward, right, from the user side. Right? But this one here, difference is that an admin is able to create it to say encrypt only, and you'll be able to apply it to a label. That means it's an admin creating this particular one, but it's just a user creating that one. And user cannot have access to this one. Why a admin cannot have access to the user interface, right? Which is personal stuff, right? So the difference is that the same approach is going to play here as when you use the official message encryption and when you use let's use assign permissions when they apply this label. So this might work in a scenario here. If I'm selecting let's use assign permission, probably you want to apply to all documents. This will work, right? You probably want to apply to all emails. You want to apply to all documents, right? So now, for this one here, for the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, gives users permissions to specify who they want them to have access to, right? For Word, I mentioned earlier. But for the app, for Outlook, right? For Outlook, it does not give them that particular role. It's just encrypt, do not forward, and maybe it will allow them to print also, right? Now that this still does not give room of customizing who you actually want to give access to, have access to a particular email, right? So let's proceed to assign permission now. So we'll be creating the one for assign permission now, right? So we have user access to content expires never, right? That means when you have access to a content, maybe you want to set a particular expiration, right? After a while, and set that. Then we have allow offline access. So You can decide not to allow offline access, right? Always, never, only for a number of days, depending. But we're going to leave it like this. So let's come to accept permission. Now we're going to pick each of them one by one, right? If I select this, this is, you can say all permissions will be checked. That means this when this label is used to encrypt an email or a document, the recipients will be able to view, edit, save, print, copy, reply or forward, edit, write, export, and allow, right? Now, if I cancel this, right, let's save this. So I've given, this is applied to all users within my tenant, right? I'm going to come to assign permission again. If I want to apply anything to all anything external users, external recipients, and make use of any authenticated users, right? I click on this. Now I can come here and change this to view only. So that means the users, the recipients will be able to only view the email, right? But they won't be able to edit, save, print, copy, reply, forward, edit, export any email or probably any copy any content from a particular document. They will only be able to have access right to view. So I click on save. So what this does is this: all internal users will be able to reply the email, copy, but any other person that is not within the organization, we only have access to view. Now, you can also have the opportunity to specify a user also. You can specify a user from your organization. That means you can select a specific user. You can select a group of users also. You can also select external users specifically. That means you want to allow this particular external user. You can add the domain. You can add Gmail, right? Gmail.com, right? You can add. You can see. You can add external user. You can choose and customize which permission level or which level of permission do you want to give to that particular user or that particular domain, right? So we're going to leave it this way. So I click on next, right? Then we have the content marking. So you can decide to add header and footer. I think header and footer applies to email, if I'm correct, yes. Then the watermark does not apply to email, but it applies to document. So you can just do XO also. XO save, right? XO save, customize. We have XO also, then save. Then we click on next, right? So now, if you remember, I mentioned something about licensing. Let me go back to that slide. So now this is an automatic labeling, right? So add a condition, content contains, right? So this applies to only this label. That means this label, right? When I create this, I can say, let me go for credit card number, right? That means when it detects a credit card number, it's going to automatically apply the label or recommend that user to apply the label. So now this is going works in a way that only the users which have published this label to, only the user which have published this label to will benefit from this option, right? So let me show you something. Automatic labeling. So I'll show you the difference and I'll go back to the license. Now, if I create this automatic labeling from here, right? I click on next. I click on next. I click on next. You can see this one, I can apply to each location. I can apply to Exchange location. I can apply to SharePoint site. I can apply to OneDrive account. Now, so now this one here applies to Exchange. That means all users. That means anybody trying to send an email that contains sensitive information, right? This particular policy will apply to them. That means when it detects that sensitive information, it's going to automatically apply the label to the document or to the email. As you can see, common rules, advanced rule. Click on next. New rule. You can see I can add any condition to it, right? I can add exception. But if I go back to this one, I won't be able to do that. I can only set that when it detects sensitive information, either automatically apply the label or recommend that the user applies the label. I believe you can see the difference here. This is the one that is within the when upon creating the label. Why this is the one where you can select conditions and you can specify which label you want to apply to. So if I go back to the prior license, you can see for both client and service side automatic sensitivity label, you need a Microsoft 365 E5, E5 compliance of Microsoft 365 E5 of 365 E5, right? But now for the client side automatically sensitivity label only, you need the enterprise mobile plus security E5 and AIP plan too, right? So that means this one applies to this one here. This for client side automatically sensitivity label applies to this one, yeah, right? Why for you to utilize this one itself, automatic label itself, we need this one here. We need Microsoft 365 or E5 compliant. And say that this requires an higher license, another license than this one, right? So I will just go back to where we are before now. So I'm going to disable this. I'm not going to enable this. We can do a testing later, right? Or we can test that from outside, right? So I click on next here. So this applies to SharePoint. I'm sorry, SharePoint. I click on next, I click on next, and click on create label, right? So once the label is created, the next thing which you'll be looking at is to publish the label, publish it to the users. Then before you publish to users, you might need to do, if it's a normal working environment, you will have to do sensitize the users. You need to let the user know about this. You need to probably create a group of users first to test run these policies, right? Maybe you create a group of users, add them to a particular group, apply to the particular group, do a test run, make sure it's working fine, make sure that it doesn't affect the operations of business as usual. Then you can now start deploying to users bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit till they get to that. But you also need to probably create a document for end users, or probably create a session for end users to join to understand how to use labels and how to be able to encrypt documents, when to encrypt document, what each functionality is within the end user. I think there's an end user. You can create a sort of an end user guide for them to be able to know how to utilize this particular feature. So I click on done. So the next thing is for us to publish label. You can either click on publish label here, or you come to label policies. I already have a version of policy created already, so I'm going to write on this policy here. So I'll use it to publish it, right? So I come to, I'm going to edit this policy. So I'm going to, let's assume you click on create policy also, right? You're still going to come here, then you have to come here to edit and publish the label. So you can either publish one label or you can publish all the labels. But I'm going to publish the labels. So I click on add. So I click on next. Then I click on next. So here you select the users. Is it the group or you specify the user? So I've specified the users already. I click on next. There's something I need to mention, right? But that is, okay, let me finish this so we know. Then we have user must provide justification. That means when, imagine you have 3 labels or 4 labels. So when a user tries to change from a higher priority to a lower one, you might need the user to provide a justification. That's the reason for this. We require users to apply labels to their emails and documents. That means before a user saves a document or close out one, the user will not be able to close it until it applies a label. Same thing applies to an email. If the user does not apply a label to an email, it's going to prevent user from sending that email, because it is mandatory that user applies that email. Require user details for Power BI, and like this one is like custom link or custom help page for end users. All right. So I click on next. So if you want to default, apply a label default, imagine you having like 5 labels, and probably you have a general one which does not really have any protection. You can apply by default to all documents or all emails, right? So I'm not going to select anyone. Click on next, right? You can also do for document. Or let me do something. So let me for documents, yes. Let me apply XO for documents. I click on next. For emails, I say none. So you can see the difference. If I go to my email, you see that the label is not applied automatically. And if I go to documents, the label will be applied automatically by default, right? So I click on, so enable label from attachment. So if you can see, it says that if a label is applied to an email, then an attachment with an higher priority label is added to an email. So this settings replace the existing label with the label from the attachment. So then what I'm trying to say is this: imagine an attachment is encrypted, right? And you compose a new email, you add that attachment to it. The encryption on the attachment will override the label which you've added to that particular email, right? So the one with the highest priority will be applied. So if the email isn't already labeled, then it will inherit the highest priority label from any attachment, right? That's the reason for that. Means you have to enable this. Email inherits highest priority label from attachment. Recommend users to apply label instead of automatically applying it. So you can either leave it like this, but if you want user to get a prompt that before it automatically overrides it, you might need to edit this also. So I'm going to just remove this. So I click on next. So this is for calendar events. If you want to apply by default, so I'm going to leave that. Click on next. This is for SharePoint site. Right? If you want to apply it by default, click on next. Same thing for Power BI. So I click on next. So I click on next and I click on submit. Take note, if you are creating a policy to publish a label, it takes like 24 hours for it to get published. It takes 24 hours for it to get published, right? Well, I'm going to take us through the ones which I've created before, which have been published already. So let's go to the Outlook here, right? So let me refresh this. I think this account, but let me see. But I'm going to check the other account. So I click on new email, right? So yeah, there you can see, there you go. So these are the two existing ones which I've published before now, right? So which you can see to be able to apply a label already, right? And we have this. Then let's check from Outlook also, right? As I said, I already have two policies published already, which the other one is going to take time, like at least normally it's 24 hours, but at times it comes before that time. But by default, 24 hours. If I come here, right, you can see I have this already also. So there are two instances. There are instances where this will be grayed out. If this is grayed out, what you need to confirm, you need to confirm that the user is having the right license. Then you can try signing out of office also. Then sign in again to clear the cache. And if sign in again, then it should pop up, right? So that is that on that. So if you have any, I think I'll just stop here for today. In our next session, we do some testing. We test it out. We'll do some testing before we'll start our next session, and we'll proceed to the next one. But thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment and feedback for us to be able to improve. To be able to be improved in providing the right information that we need. So thank you, and to have a nice day. Bye.